Okay, so we just finished reading Harrison Bergeron by Kurt Vonnegut. So now we're going to just have a little discussion about the story and about the characters and the theme and the author's purpose. So um, the first thing I want to talk about is our central theme of this story, which is what? What was our central theme here?
It was equality versus equity.
Yeah. All right. So, what I want to do really quickly is I want you to work with your group and I want you to discuss just briefly what is equality. Okay. And in about 1 to 2 minutes, I'm going to call you back and I want one person from each group to share out what your group decided was equality. What does that mean? Okay. So, go ahead and discuss with your groups.
So with equality, I think of being treated the same.
Equality is you get this, I get that, or we both get the same thing, regardless of where our stance is.
In the story, it made it seem like it was everybody would perform the same level.
Okay, guys, you have about 30 seconds to finish your conversations and be prepared and decide who's going to share out and represent your group. Okay, group one, who's your person? Okay, Rebecca, what did you guys say?
We said equality is like being treated the same or each person getting the same things. And in the story, it seemed more like people that were equal performed the same.
Okay, very good. How do you think that this theme used that definition in the way that they did that? What were some things from the text? What was some evidence from that story where we can see where that definition was valid?
The ballerinas were all weighed down, so they all had the same dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Same with the musicians. They were unable to play certain things because they had inhibitors of different things. So one wasn't better than the other.
So those are really great examples from the text. And another thing that I wanted to point out, did anybody notice that the really intelligent people had to have the headphones on so that so that their thoughts were scrambled? How do you think that made them feel? Would you like that?
And I believe that it made them feel, well, of course we wouldn't like it, but it made them feel discouraged that they had a talent. I just couldn't resonate with equality on that specific term.
Mm-hmm. So if we think about Harrison, who's our main character here, let's think about why would he go to such great lengths to be to fight for the chance to not be equal? Why would he do that?
He wanted to be who he was. He was smart and athletic.
Mm-hmm.
That's just who he was.
Yeah, he knew he could be more. Like he even stated in the story, "Now watch me become what I can become," because he knew he was capable of so much more, and he was being wasted.
Yeah, that's really good. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit from the story and let's think about where we're going to head next. So I want you to think about this idea of equity, and then also compared to equality. Or sorry. Well, I want you to think about this idea of equality. And now we're going to kind of switch gears and look at it in terms of equity. So in the story, equality wasn't a really good thing, right? We didn't really want to be equal.
No.
But in history, can we think of some times where we did want to be did want to be equal?
Well, of course, there's civil rights and women's rights.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good. Can you guys think of a time where maybe you felt that you weren't being treated equally? Or maybe you weren't in a situation that you felt was fair? Would anybody be interested in sharing? Maybe a brother or a sister. It doesn't have to be anything too serious.
Well, I feel as if since I'm the older brother,
Uh-huh.
I have a younger brother, that I'm always getting into trouble for things that my younger brother would do as well, but he would not get into trouble.
Mm. How old is your younger brother?
He is 19 now.
Okay.
But of course,
So-
this was like way back when I was.
I was like, wait a minute, you're a 15-year-old. Okay, so yeah, sometimes that's hard, isn't it? When you have a sibling and you want to be treated equally, but they're younger, and so they kind of get away with everything. So that's really tough. Well, one thing that we're going to be looking at in the next piece of literature that we explore is an essay by Coretta Scott King, and it's all about equity. And so we're going to kind of look at these two different terms, equality versus equity, and we're going to kind of talk about the differences between those and why it's important as we kind of look at literature and as we look at certain times in history, but also as we look at society today and why some of these things are important and how we can connect things that we see in literature to the things that we see around us every day. Okay, so end of that part of the lesson plan. So let's just kind of discuss, what do we think? How do we think that went?
I feel like in the breakout session, I think they're going to call out that we should probably have a little bit more dialogue in that segment.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, in that segment, all we would have to say is what we said right after. Just put in that segment, and then we speak, and then just one person speaks. I did get it confused here and there. I forgot. My bad. I forgot we were 15. My bad.
No, that's okay.
Oh.
And I think that's something to think about also, like as teachers, when we do have those, we do put students into groups, like how do we make sure that they're talking? How do we make sure that those conversations are on topic and that they're about, and that they're actually engaging in the conversation?
And I don't know, like giving our own definition of equal, I feel like we're all going to have the same thought process maybe about it being the same. We think of equal in math or those things make it the same. So I don't know if a group discussion on just that is going to, warrant a group discussion. Maybe
Okay.
the situation might have more group discussion.
Yeah,
At
so
some point, Rebecca, you said something, and I was tempted to throw a rebuttal in there. I probably should have done that. That would have.
yeah, that's a good thought. So maybe that, since we had kind of talked about that students might not feel comfortable sharing out about personal experiences, but they may feel comfortable in the group. So that's a really good idea. Maybe in the actual lesson, that might be something that we change.
up having to like be like, okay, how am I gonna answer this like a 15-year-old? That was
Yeah.
I feel like we did okay on bringing in, text. We talked about characters, but maybe we could even be
Touch on
more.
those texts. You said they were sent to the email, right?
Yes.
Oddly enough, I remember high school English, so the story was a bit vague. Who sent it? It was Jenny, right?
Yes.
Let's see.
And what were you saying, Rebecca, about characters?
Yeah, so if we want to maybe focus on, we're doing great about definition of equality and developing that, and maybe even getting a specific goal for our text evidence. So like if we're going to focus on author's purpose, or are we going to focus on characterization, or where we kind of want to gear them through that, like we would bring up specific characters for certain purposes
Mm-hmm.
instead of it all being, this person was equal, this one, how they were equalized, I guess.
I think discussing the character Harrison itself did do better with flow. So maybe we could also pick a different character and then just have like that kind of that little bit of a comparison. I feel like the Harrison part was really solid. So maybe even talking about the mother, just to kind of, because she was the one that she was on that level playing field. She didn't have to do any of the other stuff. So maybe just that one extreme to the other extreme would be a good touchstone.
So maybe we could talk about the differences in their eyes of equality. Did Hazel believe that it was equal and she loved it, or, and then Harrison was on the other end, didn't view it as equal, and what caused them to think that way?
Agreed.
Yeah, that's really good.
Then maybe we can just maybe think some more about, even more about what our kids would say. I think that's kind of where I was blanking, is just kind of thinking in their shoes more than the teacher.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we have a good start anyway from this rehearsal, and so we can kind of build on that and reflect some more, and next time make it even better.